We think of the ancient world as primitive: stone tools, mud bricks, maybe a nice toga if you were lucky. But in 2023, researchers at MIT published a study revealing that Roman concrete, the stuff holding up aqueducts after 2,000 years, uses a self-healing chemistry that modern engineers are only now beginning to understand. And concrete is just the beginning. Scattered across museums, shipwrecks, and private collections, there are machines from the ancient world that genuinely should not exist. Not because of aliens, not because of lost civilizations with crystal technology. Real documented human beings figured out solutions that the rest of the world would not rediscover for over 1,000 years. These are 5 of them. Number 5. The Baghdad Battery. In 1938, a German archaeologist named Wilhelm Koenig was working near the ancient ruins of Qujut Rabu, just outside Baghdad, Iraq, when he found something strange. A small clay jar about 13 centimeters tall contained a copper cylinder wrapped around an iron rod, all sealed with an asphalt plug. It looked like nothing special, just another piece of ancient pottery pulled from the dry soil of Mesopotamia. But Koenig had a theory. He believed the jar was an ancient electrochemical cell, a battery built during the Parthian Empire sometime between 250 BC and 224 AD. Over 1,500 years before Alessandro Volta built the first modern battery in 1800. For decades, people dismissed it. Then researchers started building replicas. When filled with vinegar or grape juice, the jar produces roughly half a volt to 1 volt of electricity. In 2005, the Mythbusters team built 10 of them and successfully used the current to electroplate a small token with a thin layer of gold. Now the skeptics have fair points. No electroplated objects have been found at the same site. Some scholars believe the jar was just a scroll container. The originals were looted from the Iraq Museum during the 2003 invasion, and their current location is unknown. But here is what makes the Baghdad Battery fascinating even without a definitive answer. Someone, over 2,000 years ago, assembled copper, iron, and an acidic solution inside a sealed vessel. Whether they understood what they had built is the real mystery. Around the 1st century AD, in the great city of Alexandria on the Egyptian coast, an inventor named Hero built a device that should have changed the world. It did not, but not for the reason you would expect. The aeolipile was a hollow metal sphere mounted on top of a water-filled boiler. 2 bent nozzles protruded from opposite sides. When the water boiled, steam rushed through the nozzles and the sphere spun rapidly on its axis. Visitors to Hero's workshop in Alexandria could watch it whirring in circles, steam hissing from the nozzles, a machine converting heat into motion right in front of their eyes. That is a steam engine, the fundamental principle behind every locomotive, every power plant, every industrial revolution. It was built 1,700 years before Thomas Savery filed the first steam engine patent in 1698. Hero was not a one-trick inventor either. He built the first known vending machine, which dispensed holy water in exchange for a coin inside an Egyptian temple. He designed automatic doors powered by fire-heated air for the Temple of Serapis. He created a wind-powered pipe organ. The man was centuries ahead of everyone around him. So why did the steam engine die with Hero? The answer is not about intelligence. It is about economics. The Roman Empire ran on slave labor. Historian M.Y. Finley argued in his 1973 book, The Ancient Economy, that when human labor costs nothing, there is zero incentive to build machines that replace it. Hero's spinning sphere was treated as a party trick, a curiosity, not a revolution. The aeolipile did not fail because it did not work. It failed because nobody needed it to work. Number 3. The Lycurgus Cup. Inside Gallery 41 of the British Museum in London sits a Roman glass cup from the 4th century AD that uses nanotechnology. That is not an exaggeration. When you shine a light on the front of the Lycurgus Cup, it appears jade green. Walk around to the back, light it from behind, and it glows a deep, translucent ruby red. The effect is stunning, and for centuries, nobody could explain it. Then in 1990, researchers at the British Museum put fragments under a transmission electron microscope and found the answer. The glass is embedded with nanoparticles of gold and silver, each one roughly 50 to 100 nanometers in diameter. That is about 1,000 times smaller than the width of a human hair. These particles cause a phenomenon called dichroism through surface plasmon resonance, the exact same principle used in modern nanotechnology sensors. In 2013, a team at the University of Illinois found that the cup's nanoparticle structure could actually detect different liquids based on subtle color shifts. It functions, in theory, like an ancient biosensor. The Lycurgus Cup is the only complete Roman glass object known to use this colloidal gold and silver technique at this scale. How Roman glassblowers achieved this level of precision, likely by accident and refined through trial and error, remains an open question. They did not have electron microscopes. They did not have the vocabulary for what they were doing, but they did it anyway. Number 2. The Roman dodecahedra. And now we arrive at something genuinely unexplained. Not that we have theories, not that scholars disagree. Genuinely, completely, stubbornly unexplained. Over 100 small hollow bronze objects have been found scattered across former Roman territories in Britain, France, Germany, and the Netherlands. They are called Roman dodecahedra. They have 12 pentagonal faces, each with a circular hole of varying diameter, and small knobs at every corner. They date to roughly the 2nd through 4th century AD. Here is the strange part. Not a single Roman text, carving, mosaic, or piece of artwork has ever referenced them. Nothing. In an empire that documented everything from tax collection to latrine schedules, these objects simply do not appear in the written record. The proposed explanations read like a list of increasingly desperate guesses. A surveying instrument, a candle holder, a religious artifact, a children's toy, a rangefinder for Roman military engineers. In 2023, an English hobbyist went viral, demonstrating that a dodecahedron works surprisingly well as a knitting tool for making fitted glove fingers. Archaeologists noted it was clever, but unproven. They have turned up in military camps, public baths, temples, theaters, and tombs. Several were found buried in coin hoards, suggesting their owners considered them valuable. But no pattern in their find spots has ever pointed clearly to a single purpose. The largest collection sits in the Gallo-Roman Museum in Tongeren, Belgium. You can walk in and stare at them yourself. They will not tell you what they are. That is genuinely one of the most honest mysteries in archaeology. Not a mystery waiting for evidence. A mystery that actively resists every explanation thrown at it. Number 1. The Antikythera Mechanism. In 1901, a group of Greek sponge divers pulled a corroded lump of bronze from a Roman-era shipwreck off the coast of Antikythera, a small island between Crete and the Peloponnese. The wreck sat about 50 meters below the surface, surrounded by marble statues and ancient pottery. The bronze lump looked like a rock covered in green calcification. Nobody understood what they had found. For decades, it sat in a storage room at the National Archaeological Museum in Athens, largely ignored, just another piece of corroded metal from the sea. Then researchers started taking X-rays. And what they found inside changed the history of technology. The Antikythera Mechanism contains at least 30 interlocking bronze gears, including an epicyclic gearing system of extraordinary complexity. It predicted solar and lunar eclipses. It tracked the metonic cycle, a 19-year pattern of the Moon. It modeled the irregular orbit of the Moon using a pin and slot mechanism that accounts for lunar anomalies. It even tracked the schedule of the ancient Olympic Games. This is, by every definition, an analog computer, built around 70 to 60 BC. The next known device of comparable mechanical complexity did not appear until European astronomical clocks in the 14th century. That is a gap of roughly 1,400 years where nothing even came close. In 2021, a team at University College London published a landmark study in Scientific Reports proposing a complete reconstruction of the mechanism's front display, including a working model of planetary positions based on ancient Greek astronomical cycles. The detail is extraordinary, and only about a third of the original device has been recovered. The rest is either destroyed or still sitting on the Mediterranean seafloor. A sponge diver in 1901 accidentally pulled a computer out of the ocean. It had been underwater for 2,000 years, and we still have not fully figured out everything it could do. So, what connects all 5 of these machines? 4 of them come from Greco-Roman civilization, or its direct sphere of influence, built during a concentrated window of mechanical innovation between roughly 300 BC and 400 AD. When the Western Roman Empire fell in 476 AD, the institutional networks that preserved and transmitted this knowledge disappeared with it. Centuries of engineering vanished into silence. Some of it was saved. Scholars during the Islamic Golden Age translated Hero's original texts into Arabic, preserving his designs for future generations. Al-Jazari, writing in 1206 AD, built directly on Hero's foundations and created some of the first programmable automata, including his famous elephant clock with its intricate system of floats, pulleys, and mechanical figures. But much was lost permanently. The Library of Alexandria alone held an estimated 400,000 to 700,000 scrolls. Most of them burned across multiple disasters spanning centuries. We will never know what was written on them. Only about 1% of ancient Roman settlements have been fully excavated. The Mediterranean contains an estimated 10,000 to 40,000 undiscovered shipwrecks. The Antikythera wreck itself continues to yield new finds. A 2022 expedition recovered a marble head believed to belong to a statue of Hercules pulled from the wreck over a century ago, along with human teeth that may reveal the origins of the ship's crew. If a sponge diver in 1901 found a computer on the seafloor, what else is sitting in the dark, waiting to rewrite what we think we know? Every year, new excavations turn up objects that do not fit neatly into the story we have been telling ourselves about the past. And every time, we are reminded of the same uncomfortable truth. We did not invent brilliance. We just forgot who had it first. If you found this fascinating, subscribe. I cover ancient history, lost technology, and the stories behind the objects that changed the world every week.